So this programme, it's quite an honest programme. We talk about matters that can get quite serious. So if certain things do affect you that we talk about tonight, please do not hesitate to get in touch with the BBC Action Line. It's bbc.co.uk/action line if you are feeling emotionally distressed at any time and you would like some advice and support. That is one way you can do it. The number is also 0800 066 066. There's some recorded information that might be of use to you. But as well as talking about serious things, we do like to keep things light, have a good chat as well, and especially when you realise you're born in the same town as your guests who are coming on, or one of them at least. Welcome to the studio, Sarah Grace and Catherine. Good evening, how are you?
Good evening, thank you.
So is it Sarah Grace or is it Gracie? Because we'll talk about why the Gracie thing comes up. What would you like to be addressed as?
You call me Gracie.
There we go. We're on personal friendly terms already. And Catherine, this should be really BBC Wiltshire today, shouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Because we're both born in Trowbridge. Hey? How about it? Small world. And tonight you've come on the programme because you've got a story you're going to share. And Sarah Grace, Gracie. Let's talk about Gracie, not Sarah Grace. Gracie, it's one that you've told on a blog which had a huge reaction telling your story, and you've gone through so much and come out with an incredible story to tell. Amazing fundraising you've been doing. That's how we first picked up on your story, because you two have been walking quite a lot, haven't you?
Yeah, we've only just stopped walking. So yeah, we did a 30-mile walk back in May, and we did it together because as part of my journey of being poorly and getting better again, Catherine's been part of that. So as part of the symbolism of walking back to happiness is what we called it. We did that together. Yeah.
Why 30 miles? That's just walk to the end of the road and say, yeah, no way, I've done my bit.
Well, I've done a couple of moonwalks in the past. Mm-hmm. So we've done the 26 miles. I've done that, and we wanted it to be a challenge. But obviously not too much of a challenge, because originally we were going to go for a bit more, but we had to be realistic as well, both physically and emotionally, to be able to deal with it. And Sarah, you've done some walking before, but not quite 30 miles. So we just decided, actually, we looked at the mileage from the hospital to my house as well, to where I live, and it was roughly about 30 miles, we thought, and that's obviously part of Sarah's journey as well. So it was kind of ideal, really.
Okay, let's talk a bit about your journey, because you've just mentioned two key areas of it. Where did this start, Gracie?
So I became quite unwell back in autumn 2018, and it all built up to the 31st of October when I was actually in Catherine's house, a place where I normally feel safe and I can sleep. And it built up over a number of weeks where I hadn't slept at all, and then that particular night when I was staying there, I couldn't sleep, and it's almost like my body went into shutdown, and I ended up having a nervous breakdown, and I realised I was poorly because I no longer felt safe in a place where I'd always felt safe, and so that's. And Catherine called for help, called, was it?
111.
Yeah. Got the help of the paramedics, and then the story kind of continues. I got admitted into hospital, Farnham Road Hospital, received treatment there. Got discharged from there, was under the care of the mental health team with the home treatment team, and they've kind of helped me get back on my feet. And the one thing that kind of brought me out of that kind of dark period was walking. I'd go out and walk every day, no matter how low I felt, I'd walk, and that's partly how we ended up doing the walk, to raise money for Mind, and start at the place where I got help, Farnham Road Hospital, finish at the place where that help was triggered, which was Catherine's house in Teddington.
How scary was that, Catherine, having your friend round like you've done many times before, and just seeing someone just turn into someone you go, oh no, we need to get help very soon?
Yeah, I knew. I mean, it was the next morning, really, when it was just the two of us at home, and I could tell. I've seen Sarah under a bit of pressure before and not feeling necessarily herself and feeling quite down, but having known Sarah for a very long time and being a very close friend, I knew that this was different. And I did speak to Sarah, and I knew obviously she hadn't been sleeping for some time and things were getting very difficult. So when I thought really, I thought it was beyond what I could do, and I needed some expert guidance myself. So I did ask Sarah's permission if I could call 111 and I could speak to somebody, and it was very difficult. It was very emotional, but I managed to make that call. The people on the other end were absolutely amazing, and they then asked if they could speak to Sarah as well, and Sarah did speak to them, and they gave a lot of guidance. And when the paramedics came, they were also absolutely amazing, really, really amazing. So I was glad I did it, but it was quite a big call to make, because once you make that call, you know that then you're starting kind of a different process in a way, really.
It's interesting you talk about the call, but actually what's almost just as important is the question you ask Gracie is, do you mind if I call? And for you to be able to say yes, because I think the first thing is denial, isn't it? It's like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And we say that all the time with just the question, how are you? Yeah. Everyone says, I'm fine, thanks, without even thinking about actually, no, do you know what? I'm not. What made you realise, Gracie, that this is different?
Well, I think there was another question before you asked about whether you could call them. She said, if Catherine said, if I'm in the house, are you still thinking you would do something? Because what had happened in that night, I sat up all night, and I because it wasn't my house, I couldn't find tablets, wouldn't know where tablets were. So I got this thing of wanting to get in my car and just drive and just escape and never come back. But something made me sit and stay in the house. So in the following morning, when Catherine saw me, she asked me, would I, even though she was still in the house, would I still do something? And I would have done. And that's when I knew I needed help, because I knew even that I had my closest friend there, I would still probably do myself some harm.
And that's when you know a friend that well, and you get to the point where you think, okay, I can say certain things and I can be there, but actually I didn't also really know what to do at that point. So that's where I thought it was important to get advice and get some professional help really at that point.
How scary is it to look back on that now and say, I was in a place where I would have hurt myself?
I mean, unfortunately, I've been in similar situations since that time, but thankfully I've got the medical support around me to kind of protect me in those moments. The thing that overwhelms me if I think about it too much is a feeling of shame and a feeling of, I don't know, letting my friends down and letting my family down. And I think one of the reasons I didn't do anything in Catherine's house is because I didn't want to bring that into her family and into her home. So that kind of plays a bit as well, the impact on other people. And me, I don't really think about it myself in those moments. It is more about other people. That's not to say that I'm being selfless thinking that. I think actually my illness can be quite selfish at times and quite inward looking. But yeah, I don't know, when you get that low and you think the only way to deal with it is to finish it, all other emotions go out the window. You don't really feel fear. It's just emptiness, and it's that feeling of lostness that overwhelms everything else.
And something that's obviously quite clearly overwhelming is the friendship between you both. And how incredible has that friendship been, having Catherine with you every step of the way?
It's no exaggeration to say it's been a lifesaver. And sometimes without Catherine probably even realising, if I'm in a real low moment, if I just get a text message in that moment, it helps me reconnect with like now and today, and knowing that, someone is thinking about me. It's invaluable. But
I'd also add, it's kind of like Sarah's also obviously a really good friend, but she's very much part of our family as well. So, often my daughters will sort of say, oh, how's Sarah doing? Is she coming over? And obviously my husband's very much part of that as well. So, and also, we have genuine fun together. and we have a really good laugh, and so it is sort of all of us and all of us together. So it's a really sort of, I guess we've known each other since 1999, I think, isn't it, Sarah? So, and we used to work together. So we've known each other for a substantial amount of time. But we also, I suppose, it is very much about my family are very much part of that friendship as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and we often talk about people saying, "Oh, it's really good to speak out and talk if you're feeling low." It's not as easy as that. But since you have kind of shared your story with people, what's the reaction been like? Not just from friends, but maybe people who are acquaintances, because they're kind of the people you think, "Oh, I wonder what they're thinking."
Yeah, but so when I first went ill, I suddenly didn't go into work overnight, and then I returned to work about 6 or 7 weeks later on a phased return, and I remember the conversations I had even there with people who shared with me some of their story. They didn't know all of my story, but there was a connection, and some people who surprised me that they also have those struggles. And I've had people email me, phone me, people I don't even know, open up to me, which is I count as a real privilege, because I know it is difficult to talk about it, and so to talk to a complete stranger about it is quite a brave thing to do. So lots of people have shared their story with me, and it's not uncommon, sadly, but it's just trying to work out a way together to help each other.
Well, it's incredibly brave of you to come into the show tonight and also share your story. As well as sharing your story, you've shared with us some of your favourite bits of music which have really helped you during your recovery. And what kind of thing do you, not necessarily the actual song, but what type of music do you like to listen to kind of build you back up again? Well,
some of the choices I sent you, some of them focus on the whole there being a bit of a brighter day. I think I chose "Here Comes the Sun" by the Beatles. I'm not that old. I'm not that old, but particularly songs like that where you just think, I've got a hope in a brighter day, and the whole thing about the sun. It doesn't matter how bad your day's been. You've got to hope that the sun's going to rise again in the morning, and you can try again. And it's that I listen to that kind of music, gives me a bit of hope and give me a bit of purpose and something to focus on that's other than this illness that I'm trying to battle through.
Well, there's one song that we haven't had requested yet, and I thought, do you know what, this is such a great song in terms of bringing joy. That is its name, by Bastille. Why have you chosen this one? Well,
I've chosen that because if you listen to the words, it talks about somebody being at a real low moment, but actually they receive a connection with somebody, and just to remind them that they're okay and that they've got a friend. And that's kind of what's happened in my experience. When I've been really low, my friends have come good in those really low moments and shown me joy.
Joy, BBC Sussex and BBC Surrey, 25 minutes past 8. Welcome to Live and Local if you're just joining us. That was the selection as a song to make you feel good from our guest Gracie, who's come in and shared her mental health story with us tonight. Gracie, what you've kind of suggested and hinted at is, and I think it's the same for anyone who shares a story, I know it's not the end of it, and it will carry on, and I'll have highs and I'll have lows. But do you feel, in having been to hospital and had that kind of support, do you feel in a better place that you know actually how you'll be able to deal with things better?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I there's no way I could have done the walk in the state that I was in back in October, and that again, starting at the hospital and like intentionally walking away from the hospital was also part of me intentionally walking away from that level of being unwell. But I could not be where I am without the medical help that I've had and the support and the mental health team, and I am in a better place for definite. And I know now when I get those really tough days, I can access help. I've got a care coordinator that I can contact. There's a helpline that I can call at any point, a crisis line, and I've accessed all those things, and it's helped me on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
And Catherine, what was it like when Gracie was in hospital? Were you allowed to go and visit her and see how she was getting on?
Yeah, I mean, it was, to be honest, I didn't really know what to expect. And there was a group of us, actually. There was myself and some other friends that we kind of all rallied around together because we wanted to make sure that there was always someone going in to visit Sarah. And, you know, if I'm honest, going the first time to visit her, we were given sort of panic buttons and we had to go through locked doors, and you know, you went into very much an environment that was very sparse, and with, I guess, some people you were seeing that you thought, gosh, you know, I wonder what their story is. And the first time I went to go and see Sarah, didn't really know what to expect. Obviously I was desperate to go and see her, and it was lovely being able to come out with Sarah. She was a patient that was allowed to come out of the ward and have some time out as long as they knew where she was and when she would be coming back. So it was nice to be able to do that, and we did that in small steps as well. And like I said, my friends, there was a group of about 4 of us that would go on different days because it was important for Sarah, I know, to have that contact with us, because initially she was very worried about being in that situation and being in that sort of environment. So I think having us going in, she believed that also we were very much involved and I guess in charge and on top of things, and also if there were questions to ask, I'd often speak with Sarah and say, what do you want to know, what are you worried about? And I was able then to sit with the nurses and her main nurse and talk through those worries or those concerns, and so I felt that, you know, there were some really good staff there as well who were very open and I'd say very honest as well.
I guess that's half the battle, isn't it? Is that before you've even gone there, because it's the preconception, it's the stereotype associated with going to a psychiatric ward. And you wrote about it in your blog, didn't you? Saying the property's minimalistic in its design, ideal for roller skating though. And how would you describe your time in there and your thought process while you were there?
Well, in the build up to going there, I'd spent a lot of time driving in my car and driving away and trying to escape, and my whole schedule was about trying to keep busy. And I think the moment that I arrived there and the door closes behind you and it's locked, it's all security, I suddenly realised I had nowhere else to drive to and nowhere else to escape. And it was a moment where I just thought, okay, I've got to now face these things I've been trying to run away from for so long, and that's quite scary. And I also, if I'm really honest, thought I'd been tricked into being there, because suddenly there was no one I knew there. They weren't allowed to come with me. And for the first 2 hours, I sat with my coat on, waiting to be picked up, because I thought they were going to come and get me. And that moment where you realise, actually, you're here, you're not going anywhere for a while. It wasn't very nice. You know, the other patients in there were the kindest people, but they were all really, really poorly, and I didn't know where I kind of fitted in. You weren't allowed your personal belongings. I had a carrier. I went in there with a carrier bag with a piece of Victoria sandwich from
I made her take.
Yeah, from Kingston A&E. So they gave me the Victoria sandwich, but took the bag away from me because of it being a danger to my life. And they took your phone charger away from you, and you don't feel like a human. And you just think, okay, all right. There's nothing left here. I've just got to kind of face these things.
It's quite interesting, isn't it, Sarah, when you felt like that when you were first in there. Then after a while, coming in, when I would go in and see Sarah, it got to the point where I'd say, you were initially desperate to be out, and I said, should we go out? Should we go for a coffee? And you'd start to think about whether you wanted to do that because you started to feel so safe in there and secure. And then when it did come to leaving, you know, that decision was a massive decision to make. I remember talking to you about did you want to leave or not, because actually it became a place of a bit like a sanctuary really, and somewhere where you got to know your routine and you felt quite safe, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I did feel safe, and I then felt worried about returning home. But that again in the hospital, they were the kindest doctors and nurses, and and I'll never meet some of those patients again, but I went through probably the trickiest time in my life with people I'll never meet again. Yeah, it wasn't. I wouldn't recommend it as a mini break, as I put in the blog. But it definitely served its purpose for that moment in my life, and I'm quite grateful that I experienced it. It changed me, and hopefully it's changed me for the good. And yeah. And I would just say to anybody who's in a similar position where they perhaps worried about getting help because they might end up in a place like that, they're not there to trick you. They are there to help you and give you the best treatment towards your recovery.
Well, you've done amazing things since. We'll talk more about the walk that you both went on. Catherine, you're involved in education as well. We're going to talk a bit about that after a bit of Billy Joel, and we'll get your weather and travel next. Thanks ever so much, Charlie. Right, we're joined in the studio by Sarah Grace and her friend Catherine. Sarah had a breakdown last year, a nervous breakdown. She ended up in a psychiatric ward in Farnham, has come out the other side and has done some incredible fundraising. We were just talking before we get into that, because I know you have chosen a song for us tonight, Catherine, that we're going to play very, very shortly. You're not getting away with that one. Was this your karaoke song by any chance?
No, it wasn't the karaoke song, actually, no.
Tell us about this. So you went to visit Gracie at Farnham Road.
I did. I remember actually it was a Monday evening. I'd been able to take Sarah out of the hospital for a few hours into Guildford for something to eat, although she doesn't quite remember that little trip. And when we came back in, there was Dave, the karaoke man, in the ward doing karaoke. And I think he was struggling getting some participants there to take part. So he said, Catherine, you'll do it, won't you? So I actually can't remember what I did sing. But it was, it made me laugh. It was fun. And a few people joined in. And we had a bit of a karaoke session in the ward.
Gracie, was that the part of that day you do remember?
I definitely
and trying to forget.
Definitely tried to blank that out of my brain.
Let's talk about the walk you did. When did this take place?
The 11th of May.
11th of May this year. And it really was, you mentioned a couple of times the two places, the start and the finish line, that was so pivotal in your journey. Why did you decide to do the walk to start with anyway?
I wanted to do something positive. I wanted to raise money for Mind because, again, I've accessed the services that they provide. I think what they do is amazing. The walking for me in my recovery has been crucial. So I wanted to combine those two things. And, that's why we ended up walking for 30 miles. Although actually, the week before we did a training walk, we were supposed to do 26 miles.
Yeah, maybe right? 24 miles on our training. Yeah.
And we accidentally did 29 miles a week before the 30 mile. So really, we did about 60 miles in a week. But we were overwhelmed by the amount of generosity from our friends and colleagues, and raised a lot more money than we had anticipated.
Yeah.
Over £3,000 in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, nearly 4,000 towards that. I think initially when Sarah had said to me she wanted to do the walk, my first reaction was like, you can't do that on your own. You can't talk to yourself for 8 hours. And so we had a bit of a laugh and I said, I'll do it with you. And her first, I think your target was £500 initially. So we decided, because it was two of us, we would up that target to 1,000. And then we just sort of watched it grow from there, really, because more people got interested and got on board, and obviously knew it was such a significant thing, especially for Sarah, what she was doing. So, everyone was really generous and really supportive.
I'm really interested in the walking side of things and how that helped you. When did you realise that was a kind of a coping mechanism and a way of you being able to maybe kind of take 5 and have your own space? I
think quite early on I realised that it was doing me good, like within days of being out of hospital. It might sound a bit twee, but I think it was the idea that being out and about and hearing sounds like birds and just breathing in the air, it brought a reality to the fact that the world ticks on, it carries on, and I'm part of that world. And I kind of this recovery bit is trying to work out, well, okay, where do I fit into that world? And the walking just, I guess, grounded me a bit, because a lot of my breakdown is a culmination of things, experiences and situations that have happened to me, particularly over the last 2 years, but also is connected to a bit of a childhood trauma. And so I experience triggers, so I can be back experiencing that thing as a child and back in the past, whereas walking makes me very present and enables me to be in the world now and recognise, okay, it does matter what's happened in the past, but it's not going to control me now. I can kind of walk on and walk away from that.
What was the toughest part of that 30-mile walk?
Gosh, I don't know really. I think it was a bit tough it seems obvious to say towards the end, but in order to make it 30 miles, that round of 30 miles, we had to kind of walk past my house and keep going a little bit further we had to go towards Ham, over Teddington Lock and to Ham, and we wondered whether at one point we might have to touch on Richmond Park a bit, but we were quite careful at sort of watching the mileage, so that was quite tough, psychologically thinking, okay, the house is over there, we've got to keep on going. But I think it was just, we literally did not stop talking for the whole time. And there are a few times, where we might say, this is hurting now, or I'm feeling a bit, but we just kept on going. We kept the pace, kept it going. And I think the fact we had each other and all our stories, which we always have lots of stories,
Load.
And jelly babies and various things like that.
Where does your friendship go back to?
Well, we worked together in the same school in Wimbledon. So Catherine was the deputy head there. I just came in to do a little bit of drama because that's my thing. Did drama club, did some productions, and we started to work together in that kind of setup, wasn't it?
Yeah, like I said, I think the first time I met Sarah, she was doing an assembly for the children. She was being brought in from a local sort of group, and they used to do these amazing assemblies. And obviously Sarah's an actress, and that's her line is drama. So we used to keep sort of going back to them saying, oh, can you come in? And then they got involved in doing sort of productions, and Sarah started writing all our productions for the children, and I like a bit of dancing, so I used to do the choreography with her. So we really got in the end, we were sort of partners in crime in that respect, writing productions together and everything like that. So, and then Sarah actually started working at the school, so working with our special needs children as well, and working as a one-to-one with those children, doing a remarkable job with them. So I think it all started back in 1999.
So we've got a drama queen and we've got a dancing queen. That leads us nicely, doesn't it? Right, Catherine, you've chosen a song to make you feel good. I think I've given it away, but why have you chosen this song?
I always feel like I need to get up and dance to it. I absolutely love it. There are some also quite sad memories to do with this song, but at the same time, even if those memories come back when I hear it, still makes me want to get up and dance, and and it just reminds me of some good times with my girlfriends as well, out and about in the evening. So yeah, it's a good song.
Let's clear the tables. It's Thursday night. It's live and local. A special choice from Catherine tonight. You enjoyed that one, didn't you?
I did. I absolutely did.
Music's so important as well. Did you have music on while you were doing your walk? Was there any music going on?
We took headphones because we thought at one point we will get on each other's nerves or not be able to talk, but we just talked.
We talked the whole time. Yeah. So yeah, we had the playlist ready, but actually we never got to it.
Brilliant. Why was Mind so important for you to raise money for? How would you describe their services and how you've used them?
I've used their helpline quite a lot actually, and I think the fact that you can talk to people who understand, who aren't going to judge you, who aren't going to then directly put you into hospital, because that is another fear that I have. But that they know what they're talking about, and they're kind, and it's the fact that I can access that 24 hours, and sadly a lot of people need to do that. So yeah, they need the investment.
Yeah, we'll certainly talk more about ways in which people can get help. We got someone on the phone just after 9 from NHS Mind Matters. How, obviously, now you've been able to talk out and get that help. If someone's in that place where they're almost scared to because they think I'm going to get judged, I don't want people to know what I think. What would your advice be, almost?
You have to take a deep breath and just talk and trust. And I know that's really difficult. The trust for me is something that's kind of been ebbed away for the last couple of years. So to be able to talk to somebody and trust that they're not going to turn their back on me or reject me is massive. But I just had to do it. Again, I think it helps if you've got someone alongside you also doing some of the talking. That helps too. I can't always think of the right words or know the right things to ask, but I know very much in those early days having my friends there to do that has helped too. So, and if you've got friends around you, asking you, accept the help. Don't be proud, and they're not gonna run away. Not if they're decent friends, anyway.
Catherine, you've been that amazing friend for Gracie, but in terms of education, obviously you're in education at the moment. We were talking off air how important it is that within education, whether it's primary school, secondary school, college, whatever stage of development you're at, that actually mental health is being talked about.
Absolutely. I think, I'm fortunately in a position where I work with, I'm a lecturer and I'm working at St Mary's University and with our own students as personal tutors. We make sure that obviously we talk to our own tutees about their own mental health and how they're feeling. We talk to them in terms of the capacity, the fact they're going to be a teacher, and what that looks like in education now, and also how important it is in primary education, because I know it's very current, but it's also about acknowledging that it's sad to say, but young children also need that help and support. But I think from what we do, it's making sure that our students are in the right place, in a good place, and we have lectures on our mental health and well-being as well, so it's very much part of their training that then they can take that with them into school and make sure that they then are able to work with others, colleagues, and of course the children that are going to be in their care.
Yeah, university is obviously a huge time of change, isn't it? And you sort of do need that someone there that you can go and talk to, because you're doing a lot of things for the first time. Yeah,
absolutely. You're in a different place, you're with people you don't know, and even we're new lectures to them, so we have our personal tutees. We have a fantastic student support service as well that is always there to help our students. So it is about those honest conversations, and it's about that trust that Sarah was saying. It's about knowing that you can trust someone with your feelings and your thoughts, and that they'll be there to help you and support you along the way as well.
How would you agree, Gracie? Would you say that, if there had been provisions in place when you were younger, you'd be able to deal with things easier because there's just that bit of education and it wouldn't be such a scary subject then? Yeah,
I think that if it's about communication, and there wasn't that kind of level of communication when I was younger to be able to talk about it. It's keeping the conversation going, and also I think trusting that is back to that, trusting the people that you are able to talk to. I didn't have a lot of that.
And what's next for you two? Is there another challenge?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I don't know. We were just talking tonight. Actually, we were waiting to come on about. You had a book in your area there about walks in Guildford and walking around Guildford. I know there's a lot going on locally, so actually we might do some shorter walks together, because again, it is about that conversation, having that time together, and we both enjoy doing that. But no doubt there'll be another challenge in the future that we will take on together, I'm sure.
Well, we've got the Surrey Ramblers on after 9 o'clock, so listen out for them, because they might have some suggestions of great places to walk. Sarah and also Catherine, thank you so much for coming in, sharing your story. Really do appreciate it. Gracie, for being so open and honest. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
If you have been listening tonight and you've been affected at all by Sarah's story and you'd like to just get some support for yourself, you can call, of course, the BBC Action Line. It's 0800 066 066, or the website is bbc.co.uk/action line. If you do need to talk to someone urgently, you can call the Samaritans free from any phone on 116 123. And as Gracie was talking about, also Mind are a fantastic charity who are always there to help as well. But if you are just feeling a bit upset after listening to Gracie's story and can relate to certain aspects of it, please do not be afraid to reach out. Plenty more on the way on Live and Local tonight, including, as I mentioned, the Surrey Ramblers. John will be here. He's going to be talking about why walking is so beneficial to mental and physical health, of course, and also some ideas of maybe some favourite walks to go on in the local area. And shortly we'll be joined by Dr. Gisela Unsworth from NHS Mind Matters. That is all on the way after your latest news headlines for 9 o'clock, and they're up next after this. We'll leave you with this one, Gracie.